Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. One of you asked me how I rated the Bruckner 7, this thing, with Bernard Haitink and the Bavarian Radio Symphony Orchestra on their own label, because he's done it like a bazillion times. Really unbelievably crazy. And I said to myself, well, if I'm going to go and go back and check these things and listen to them again and again, I really should take a look and see what is available by Haitink in the Bruckner 7 department. So I did the usual thing. I grabbed my phone and we went over here to the iTunes store, which is a good place to see sort of what's available. And I put in Bruckner 7 Haitink. Oh, I have to spell Bruckner correctly, though. It doesn't work if you don't. Bruckner 7 Haitink. And you get, here we go. Let's see what we get. Albums. We hit albums. There they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 8 or 9 here, or something like that. Okay, so how many are there? Let's just take a look. What's this thing? Oh, God only knows. All right, some of you may be able to come up with a few extra ones, but first, they've got the Chicago Symphony Bruckner 7. Then there's this one. And then there's the one with the Netherlands Radio Symphony Orchestra, whatever that thing is called. And then there's one with, there's another one with the Concertgebouw that's on the Concertgebouw's own label. And then I think that's it. And then of course, there's the earlier Concertgebouw. Well, there are two with the Concertgebouw, let's be clear. There are two with the Concertgebouw. An early one from the 60s, part of that first Bruckner cycle, and then a remake from the late 70s. I think actually it was 77 or 79, somewhere around there. It doesn't really matter. It's just late 70s. The great Bruckner 7s from Haitink are the second Concertgebouw recording, which was just before the digital era, which is wonderful because their early digital recordings sucked. Philips did not know how to use digital technology initially, and the recordings that they made in the Concertgebouw were particularly awful. So this was gorgeous pre-digital analog, and it's a magnificent performance. So there's the second Concertgebouw one from 77 or 79 or one of those years. Then the Chicago one, which is magnificent, absolutely magnificent, with, of course, great brass playing and whatnot. And the Netherlands Radio Philharmonic one I haven't heard, and the live Concertgebouw one I have heard. It's in the Concertgebouw box, but it's not as good as any of his regular Concertgebouw ones. And so that leaves us with this one. So where does it rank? Well, somewhere below the second Concertgebouw and the Chicago ones. It's okay. It was recorded in, what was the year here? They do tell you. Well, they tell you somewhere. All right, we have to go in here and find out because they don't want to tell us in detail. But it's a live thing that was recorded. Here we go. Let's see. Live recording from 1981. Yes, that's what it looks like. 1981. Let me just take cat toy. Here we go. Yes, 1981. Thank you. My God, it's impossible to read these things. So, 81. It's the same time as the second Concertgebouw one, roughly. But the bottom line is this: playing's not as great, generally speaking. The brass playing, particularly, is not as great. It's a little bit harsh, a little bit edgy. When you want a luminous sound, but nice textural layering and differentiation between the various brass instruments. It's good. Haitink always did a good Bruckner 7th. I mean, it was a piece he obviously felt strongly about, and he conducted it beautifully. And they're not all identical. For example, this one has an incredibly slow beginning of the coda of the finale, which, in my view, actually doesn't help it if you listen to what he does in the others, which have a much more natural kind of flow and build at the very end. There's nothing wrong with it. absolutely nothing other than the fact that it is utterly, totally, completely unnecessary. It really is. It just, I'm flabbergasted how so many versions of the same thing by the same conductor can be popping out all over the place. It's like, yeah, I mean, we know what happens. What happens is conductors take certain works into the repertoire. They don't have to spend a full season in front of a single orchestra. So they do their 16 weeks and then they go on tour playing the stuff that they've learned that season. So they do all the same repertoire with different orchestras. If those are radio orchestras, it all gets recorded. Sometimes it gets recorded anyway because they have the right to do it. And then all of these things sit around in the archives, and one of them may get a lot of acclaim. For example, Haitink's Bruckner 7th, the second one, with the Concertgebouw, or the Chicago one, which is made for their own label, get a lot of attention because they're excellent. And someone sits around scratching their head in the little office, says, we have one of those. Let's release it. Well, and then they do. And then there's more and more and more. And the idea that we need to have, a dozen Knappertsbusch Parsifals or Furtwängler whatevers or Haitink Bruckner 7s, it's completely crazy. Completely crazy. No one is lining up, with the line crawling around the block to buy the latest Haitink Bruckner 7th. The 5th or 6th or 7th or 8th or 9th. It's absolutely crazy. So, is it good? Yes, it's good. Is it as good as the others? No, it's not. Are the differences hugely significant? No, they're not. Do you really need this? No, you don't. That's the bottom line. And frankly, we should not be encouraging these people, in my view, to release tons and tons and tons of the same old with the same people, because they must have in their archives really valuable one-off things, performances maybe by Haitink of works that he didn't record 50 times over, or other repertoire entirely that really needs to be released on disc lovingly and carefully by a major orchestra. All of those things should take priority over another one of these thingies. You know what I mean? Right? I think we're all agreed on that. At least I hope. So, your answer is, it's not as good as those other two. It's not a lot worse. It's marginally worse, but wholly unnecessary. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.